Butker trying to line this up. Winchester will snap it. Colquitt will hold it. .2020 tie, high snap, pulled down. Butker's kick is out, it is right down the boulevard! It's good! And the Chiefs take a 23-20 lead with 4 seconds left in regulation. And Harrison Butker kicks some, you know what? Welcome to the Chiefs Kingdom!
Hi, how are you doing, Chiefs Kingdom? You're listening to the Arrowheads Abroad Podcast. I'm your host for this evening, Tom Childs, and joining me tonight is our very own Manchester Titan, Dave Barnett.
Whoa. I feel like you're missing the whole spiel about how I'm now the Arrowheads Abroad Supremo since you picked up sticks and went over to Arrowhead Pride. Where's all this? Brad gave me like this superb intro last time out. That feels a bit underwhelming in response, to be perfectly honest.
Let's be fair, you've probably got Brad wrapped around your little finger. I'm pretty sure you got some dirt on him.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Arrowhead Pride because I finally put my contacts to good use tonight. I've used my new position to get someone onto the show, someone far more knowledgeable and far more handsome and far more entertaining than Brad. And so tonight we welcome onto the show for the very first time Arrowhead Pride's very own defensive mastermind and all-around good guy, Craig Stout. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm doing great. I just want Brad to know that was your words, not mine, as far as the handsome, better person, all of that. No, those are your words, not mine.
We were all thinking it. Don't worry about it.
It's funny you've been talking about this because we've actually had Ryan Tracy talking to us on Twitter today, telling us that he will come onto our show to replace Brad as our permanent host.
Yes!
Providing we teach him how to make a cup of tea properly.
Just as long as you don't put the milk in first, that's the most important thing.
Do you drink tea yourself, Craig?
I do drink tea. I do drink a little bit of tea, not with milk in it. I just prefer just some generic Earl Grey.
Oh, right.
Every once in a while. Black tea, yes.
No Tetley's, Yorkshire tea or PG or anything like that. No breakfast tea as we have over here.
I was going to say, if you're going to be go with a whole proper English thing, you got to have a bit of Tetley's.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for it. Our overall tea market over here, not strong. We threw it all into the bay a long time ago. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Yeah. All in the bay in Boston. Yeah, that's
yes.
In the first 2.5 years of having this show and having numerous guests on, no one ever brought up the Boston Tea Party.
The thing
but now it's been brought up twice in the last 2 months. Like, people are really getting brave around us now.
Thing is, nobody in the UK knows about it.
Of course not. Why would you? Yeah.
If you asked 999 out of 1,000 people, they wouldn't have a clue what the Boston Tea Party is. Which is hilarious because, like, I've heard some Americans use it, and it's like, honestly, say all you want about the Boston Tea Party because nobody knows.
Yeah, it was used as kind of smack talk during the Women's World Cup there, and I remember at that time hearing like that's going over the entire country's heads, like nobody understands it. So,
do you reckon Alex Morgan was referencing the Tea Party, or do you think she was doing what she said? She's just tea celebration because the English drink tea. What do you reckon on that?
I reckon that the woman who got drunk at Epcot Center and got kicked out of Disney World knew exactly what she was doing with that. She is our queen over here, in case you didn't realize that. Yeah.
Wait, she got kicked out of Disney World?
Yes, she did. Epcot Center in Orlando, Florida is very famous for having sort of an around-the-world international thing. It's several countries that you can walk through, and the popular thing to do is to drink at every one of the, I want to say, 13 countries that's there. So by the time you get to the end, you're just a sloppy mess. Alex Morgan got to that point and was removed from Disney World.
That is epic.
She sounds like my kind of girl.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would party.
She's pretty amazing. That's why she's our queen now. Yes.
Well, she could definitely outdrink Brad, that is for sure. Anyways, the reason you're here, Craig, is to not only replace Brad, but we're going to use your expertise, your knowledge, because the Chiefs have made a move over the last hour. And we've been quite lucky with the timing because it's worked out brilliantly for us that we can talk about this as fresh news. But the Chiefs have made a move at corner and signed Mo Claiborne to a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. What's your initial reaction to that signing, and what does it tell us about the Chiefs and how they feel about the cornerback position overall?
I think that the cornerback position, we all thought that it was kind of a problem going into this season. We've heard Kendall Fuller's not playing particularly well. Charvarius Ward is more of a press man corner that's been thrust into a zone-heavy scheme. Bashaud Breeland was really the only guy that we haven't heard a ton about, other than he's been injured a couple of times, been a little nicked up in camp. They needed other bodies. Right now, the guys behind it are DeMontre Wade, Herb Miller, Keith Reeser went down hurt. They just needed another quality presence that can kind of push for maybe a CB1, CB2 position and force those guys to earn their jobs a little bit right now, because there's nobody pushing Charvarius Ward on the roster prior to Mo Claiborne signing.
That's a depressing state of
affairs. Isn't it? Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, where do you stand on the corners before the Mo Claiborne edition? Like, we've talked about them before ourselves, and we've decided that they do desperately need help.
Yeah, I say I've always been more worried about the depth than anything else. I kind of thought it was a position we could kind of, I guess, plaster over elsewhere by improving the pass rush, improving the safety play. You sort of help reduce the pressure on the cornerbacks a little bit. So I wasn't necessarily worried about going out and getting, say, a Patrick Peterson type guy, making a big trade, making a big splash. Just depth, especially when a guy like, obviously, Keith Reeser, a lot of people were excited about him after his play in the AAF. Rest in peace, by the way. So people were excited to see how he sort of developed, and then obviously he's out for the season. His Achilles is gone, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think depth. You're very lucky if you can get through an entire NFL season and have all of your guys stay healthy. So, yeah, I say, I'm not expecting him to come in straight away and, be pushing guys down the depth chart, but certainly will provide a bit of competition and hopefully keep guys on their toes a little bit at worst. And then, obviously, it's kind of a buy low situation. You can't really lose. What's $1.5 million for a year? It's not a lot in the NFL. And
it's a $1.5 million base with up to $1.5 million in incentives. So he can make up to $3 million for the year. That's still dirt cheap for a cornerback, especially if he hits those incentives. He's probably starting from week 5 on after his suspension.
Yeah, well, the onus will be on him to earn that spot and to take it, because we all agree that the Chiefs' cornerback play has been a mess for the last couple of years. Now, I still don't understand why they got rid of Marcus Peters, and I don't think I'll ever truly understand why they did. I didn't really catch your opinion at the time. Just a quick one, Craig. Were you happy about that? I know we're going back 18 months now, and we're going way, way back. But what was your overriding opinion on the Marcus Peters situation in a couple of words?
I didn't think that the return on investment for the talent of the player was worthy of the trade. I was a massive Marcus Peters fan coming out of college. I was ecstatic when they signed him. He was a guy that I wanted on this roster, and I know that there's a lot of off-field issues and everything like that, but for me, you figure it out for a player with his kind of talent.
And the irony is the system that we run now would almost be
perfect,
ideal for
Peters.
Peters.
Perfect. With his eyes in the backfield, able to use his intelligence and ability to jump routes, is perfect for Spagnuolo, yes.
So what are the Chiefs getting in Mo Claiborne? Because obviously he's an LSU guy, which will obviously helped build a relationship with Tyrann Mathieu. He's a former first-round pick. He played well for the Cowboys, went to the Jets. got an injury last year, then obviously had to sit out the rest of 2018. People I speak to or I know that support the Jets said he wasn't particularly great at the start of the year, but you've obviously had some time now to look at some tape and have a look at some film. What kind of corner are the Chiefs getting in Mo Claiborne?
Mo Claiborne is a guy who can play man or zone. He's comfortable with the shuffle technique that Steve Spagnuolo wants to use. He gets his hands on a lot of passes. He only had 2 interceptions last year, but a couple of plays that I gift up for him, he actually swatted the ball to a teammate to set up another interception. He's a playmaker. He does great work in the red zone. He's just a long guy with lots of high football IQ, and he's still got enough speed to be able to play at an NFL level right now. Honestly, he's pretty firmly in front of Charvarius Ward in my mind once he gets done with his 4-game suspension at the beginning of the year. I'm excited to get him in here. Charvarius Ward's a great cornerback 4 while he develops and adapts to this new scheme. Mo Claiborne can give them maybe a little time and a little bit of additional veteran, high quality, maybe not high quality, above average quality play out of the cornerback position here through the middle of the year, through the end of the year. I actually thought, you did say that he wasn't great at the beginning of 2018. He was actually very good in 2017, and I thought that he was pretty darn good at the end of 2018 as well. I think maybe that beginning of the year was a little bit of an anomaly for him. So if they get the player that he was at the back half of 2018, honestly, he's a better player than any of the cornerbacks that the Chiefs had on the roster at the end of last year. So it's something that Chiefs fans should be cautiously optimistic about.
Better than the Chiefs had at the end of last year.
Yes.
Anything's
That's
better than
not
Orlando.
particularly high bar, is it? That is the lowest of bars.
It is, but most of those guys are still on the roster, so that's not ideal. Yeah.
That's basically like, in a Premier League terms, finishing 17.
Yes.
Just above the relegation zone.
Just above. You didn't get relegated. But yeah.
Essentially, the Chiefs' corners were Brighton. That's it. So you've seen camp in person now. You've been there in person. You were there last weekend. I listened to your podcast last weekend with Chiefs Bearcat. Brilliant stuff. Really enjoyed it. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
That sounded really sarcastic, didn't it?
No, I didn't take it for sarcasm. See, you could have just leaned into the accent, and I wouldn't have known. So yeah.
Oh, what a wanker I am. I'm sorry. But what's been your overriding impression of Steve Spagnuolo, and what's the big differences, like the 3 big differences between Spagnuolo and Bob Sutton? If you can keep it down to 3.
Oh my, I'm going to try and go with my top 3 here off the top of my head.
The defense exists.
Yes, the defense gets stops. Number 1, no. It's an accountability thing. When these guys do a drill, when there is a rep where somebody screws up or is out of position, they make them do it again immediately. They're called out on the spot, and Spagnuolo will stop the drill and come over and physically show the player how he wants it to be done, to the letter. And that goes for the assistant coaches as well. Brendan Daly, Matt House, Dave Merritt, Sam Madison all do that with these players one by one. We witnessed Brendan Daly kind of going through with each one of the defensive linemen doing drills, and if they didn't get it perfect, they had to do it again. Breland Speaks ended up having to take every rep 2 or 3 times just to get it right, but it's getting it right. I never saw Bob Sutton, I saw him maybe talking a little technique with him, or Britt Reed talking a little technique with him, but it wasn't like drilling down to try and make it perfect. It was more of a, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and then let him kind of try and learn on his own or learn with the other dudes. It's not a situation where the coaches were drilling down. And, we've talked about this on our podcast before. This is just normal coaching. Like, this isn't anything special, but it just shows how far off Bob Sutton was. A couple other things. Steve Spagnuolo is loud. Brendan Daly is loud, and it's both complimentary and when there's a negative thing. They want people to know when people did things right, when people did things wrong. It's just a little bit next level for making sure everybody on that field knows when a player did something right, when a player did something wrong. That helps these players to not want to screw up, because when they do things right, everybody knows. All the fans there, all 6,500 fans standing in the stands know. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't a thing that happened before. You just kind of assumed that a player did something right or didn't do something right. And then Steve Spagnuolo is trying so many different looks. There's going to be so many blitzes that happen on, out of his fronts, out of his safeties, out of his nickel corners. There are entire drills that are built around, what do you do when we blitz both nickel corners? What do you do when we blitz both safeties? Like, they'll run 4 or 5 reps in a row during team just to get those looks, just to make sure everybody's in lockstep with where they need to drop to and what they need to do. We didn't really see that. We didn't see him doing a whole lot of that. It was more straightforward rushes last year. So that will be exciting to watch, going forward in this year.
It sounds like with Bob a bit of apathy slipped in, and it sounded kind of boring. Like, Dave, you've played the game for several years. How do players react, and how would you react to having the same old coaching, the same old formations, same old plays week in, week out?
The thing is, I think in a defensive system where you're doing the same thing over and over again, the players know it. I've never played, and it's not just football, it's any sport. I've never played any sport, and as ever when things aren't going wrong, you don't know, or you think stuff isn't being coached correctly, and you don't know as players. And I'm sure there was guys that were on the team last year that knew things weren't right.
Stevie Nelson being one of them.
Marcus Peters the year before.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're just a player. It's sometimes just not worth it, because the worst could happen. You'll get benched. You'll get into arguments. You'll get traded. It's that kind of thing. And yeah, you know what? I'm sure for some of the players that were on the team last year that are still here now, it will be a breath of fresh air. It'll be like a new lease of life. Getting into a system like this, I just think, from a fan perspective as well, it was just like the amount of times you were in games and you just knew what the Chiefs were going to run in certain downs and distances. It was like you just knew it every single time. And I think that is going to be that's the most exciting thing for me, I think, is the Chiefs defense having a bit of unpredictability. You never know where that blitz is going to come from. You never know which guy's going to drop back in coverage, and you're just not letting good quarterbacks pick you apart like Brady did in that AFC Championship game, where he knew pre-snap exactly what the Chiefs were going to be doing and just picked us apart.
Yeah, Phil Rivers did the exact same when he came to Arrowhead in that fourth quarter. I felt like we all sat there and we knew exactly what the defensive calls were. We knew what plays to call, which receiver to hit down the middle. We knew that there was going to be cover 2. There was going to be a massive hole.
2 deep safeties,
in
lots of
the
space
middle of the field. It seems everyone knew it except Andy Reid and Bob Sutton, which was just depressing. It really, really is depressing when you've got relatively noobs, I suppose, to the sport in myself and Brad and Dave to a point, but we can see it on our television sets, what's going on. We're screaming at the TV, change something up. We know what's coming. It's 3rd and 10. We know a first down is coming regardless. It's an awful way to watch football, and a way I'm glad we won't have to watch it this year. The Chiefs will change things up. So moving to personnel, one guy I'm really excited to see this year is Anthony Hitchens, because we got sold the dream that Anthony Hitchens is this amazing linebacker coming from Dallas that's a factory of linebackers. They are to linebackers what we are to running backs, it seems. Everyone that comes out of Dallas and that system is a great player. Last year we just didn't see it. We saw a player that looked like he was uncomfortable, that looked not very motivated at all. How was he going to play this year? If you had to put not necessarily a number, but like a rating on Anthony Hitchens? Like, how much of a jump is he going to
Well,
make?
if last year on like a 1 to 10 scale was a 2 out of Anthony Hitchens, I think we'll see a 6 or a 7. I think we'll see the player that we were sold a little bit. He's not going to be the best linebacker in the league, but I don't know that we were necessarily sold as him being the best linebacker in the league. He's going to have to think so much less in this scheme. He's not going to have to read a defensive tackle looping 3 gaps over to find out which gap he needs to shoot. Like it's going to be, I shoot the A gap, I'll be in the A gap. And they're going to play so much more downhill. That's one of the things that we saw in camp already when I was out there this past weekend. They play so much faster. They're getting downhill so much faster. He doesn't necessarily improve in coverage, what we saw, from last year. He still struggles getting out of his breaks a little bit, but Spagnuolo is going to have him play more of a middle hook defender where he's not going to have to be that player like he was last year. That's going to be Darren Lee. That's going to be a safety. It's going to be somebody who can actually cover a running back out of the backfield a little more. Anthony Hitchens is going to be a prime player for this defense, and I do think that they have several, Frank Clark, Honey Badger, Juan Thornhill, I'd even maybe throw in, Chris Jones, obviously. I'd maybe throw in Alex Okafor as well, but Anthony Hitchens is going to be a key player to this defense. I think we're going to get to about week 9, and we'll start seeing maybe the early praise articles start to come out from a lot of the media outlets about Anthony Hitchens and, really rising up from what he had to do last year. And realistically, I think he's probably the same player, roughly. He's just having to do so much less mentally, and he's able to play so much faster on the field.
A player you mentioned there, which I'm really, really, really excited to see, as well as Anthony Hitchens. Not Frank Clark, not Chris Jones. We kind of know what they can do in this league. They've bulldozed tackles and guards for the last 2 or 3 years, so we know what we're getting with them. But you mentioned our old friend Joanne Thornhill there. Joanne being a joke from the last podcast, which I'm rolling with now. It is Joanne Thornhill for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So in Joanne, sorry, I can't take myself seriously.
We never take it seriously, Tom, so it's fine.
I'll start with you, Dave. What are we going to get out of Joanne Thornhill? Because all the camp highlights are incredible when it comes to this guy. Every time I log onto Twitter, every time I refresh my Twitter feed, Joanne Thornhill's making a play. He's interception. He's having an interception. He's breaking up a pass. Like, it seems constant with this guy. Like, Steve Spagnuolo, I saw earlier, hasn't started a rookie in the first week on his defense since James Laurinaitis in 2009. That's a really long time. That's 10 years since he started a rookie in his defense in week 1. So is Joanne Thornhill going to be that first guy in 10 years?
I think so. But, I mean, that's partly due to the competition as well. In terms of there's no one, close to him in terms of the ability to play that centre field role, I don't think. It's one of those things, it'll be consistency at a position where we've not had consistency in a very long time. Basically since Ron Parker was, first with the Chiefs and playing well about 5-6 years ago, I don't think. We've just been sort of for the last few years trying to patch over the safety situation a little bit and just kind of slot guys in there or sort of try and develop late round guys and see what we can get out of them. And it's nice to see the Chiefs finally sort of go all in to an extent and fix a problem. And yeah, I say just consistency, because like I said before, it helps to take pressure off the guys in front of him when you have a guy like that back there. Now, there's going to be rookie mistakes. It happens with everyone. Look at a guy like Derwin James at the Chargers last year. Played incredibly well, but some stupid mistakes in there, and it's going to happen. It's just, I think, important that people don't get on his back if there are some dumb rookie things.
For sure. And he looks the part when he's out there on the field. Like, we don't see him in camp making too many missteps so far. And I think that that's why Steve Spagnuolo doesn't really start rookies week one. It's not that he doesn't want to, it's that they ask so much from their defense. There's so much to absorb there. And I realize I just got done saying that the mental side of it isn't there, but understanding, different splits, receiver groupings, things like that, and where especially in coverage, especially deep coverage, he needs reliability back there. Thornhill so far looks to be that guy, looks like he's in the right spots, and he's just getting more and more comfortable as the days go along. We're almost hearing about him intercepting a ball daily at this point. Patrick Mahomes even intercepting the ball daily. He jumped a Tyreek Hill route today. So this is positive. When you have guys in camp that are consistently making plays over maybe a guy like Dan Sorensen who's running with the ones right now, Dan looks good. Dan is doing everything in his power to hold off Juan Thornhill, but I think it's inevitable. So basically what I'm saying is Juan Thornhill is Thanos.
Nice reference. I like it. I do like it. I just thought it was funny that we actually went 25 minutes into the podcast before bringing up Patrick Mahomes. That must be like some kind of record since he was drafted.
It's got to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a serious.
And we brought up an interception on top of it. It wasn't even something positive.
To be fair,
I don't even go 25 minutes at home talking to my girlfriend without talking about Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to lie.
To be fair, it helps not having Brad here.
Yeah, very true.
Who's Patrick Mahomes' #1 fanboy. But yeah, other than that, it's refreshing, I guess, to have other players to talk about for a change.
It is. Well, I've got £5 on Joanne
I saw your stupid bet. Yeah,
to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, 66-1, which is actually shorter odds than I got last year for MVP, for Mahomes to win MVP. Which I got 100 to 1 on that last year.
Was a stupid bet at the time.
No, it
worked out for you.
It was an informed decision.
Sorry, how much did you
offense.
How much did you put on that?
I only had a pound left in my account. I only had a pound in my account at the time.
Yeah.
Go
so
easy,
it's such a informed and well-made bet that you only put a pound on it. That's right. Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers, Dave.
He won. That's what's important. Yeah.
Exactly. Cheers, Craig. You missed a glass half empty over there. You're thank you very much.
Hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Are we just gonna throw out all the sayings we can think of? So moving on. We're just brief about this because no one cares about the preseason. The Chiefs play a football game on Saturday night. They're going to host the Bengals. Craig, are you going or are you watching on your
I am
TV?
watching on my TV at home, where I will not be bothering any people with my swearing, even though it's the preseason, and I'll be yelling at second stringers to do their jobs correctly. Yes.
Excellent. Well, I think it's a 1 a.m. kickoff over here for Sunday morning. I will not be staying up for it.
Nope.
There will not be any live tweets from the Arrowheads Abroad account. I'll probably get up and watch the 40-minute version in the morning and let you know our thoughts after that, if you care enough. We will have a podcast on Monday to talk about that. Just quickly, what players are you looking forward to seeing? I know Brad is looking forward to seeing Darwin Thompson, also known as Barry Allen, but there's a story behind that. If you listen to previous podcasts, you know. If you haven't, Barry Allen, when he was first drafted, Darwin Thompson, we saw comparisons online to Marcus Allen and Barry Sanders, which is just ridiculous. So we've given him the nickname Barry Allen, which someone's told me is actually
yes. I was going to say that's the Flash.
Yes, I was going to say I thought that was why you'd gone with it, but then I didn't realise until afterwards that wasn't.
He
why
is
you'd
fast, but not that fast. Yeah.
So yeah, Barry Allen. I know Brad's looking forward to seeing him. I'm looking forward to seeing actually not a rookie, and I'm looking forward to seeing what K-Pass and Breland Speaks can do on Saturday night, because it seems like they're going to get plenty of opportunities with Okafor and Clark and Ogba nursing injuries. So what guy are you specifically looking forward to seeing?
Outside of Juan Thornhill, which, yes, obviously, I think all of us are looking forward to seeing him get on the field. I want to see if McCole Hardman looks in a game like he did in practice. I know our podcast has kind of been the ones quote-unquote down on McCole Hardman, as a route runner, as with his hands and things like that. Everything we were hearing out of OTAs was not positive. And then when we saw him in training camp, he looks so much improved. I want to see that continue. I want to see what he looks like in a live game action. I want to see what his routes look like, when he's not just running a fade or a post or something like that. I want to make sure that player that we're seeing in camp is actually translating to the field.
I thought you were just going to carry on and lead off, Dave. I'm not going to lie.
I mean,
I was going to ask you the same question. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to, mate.
I mean, we've pretty much talked about anyone of note, have we not? I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head.
Colin Saunders. You want to watch Colin Saunders? Yep.
That's the one. Yep, there we go.
Colin Saunders.
It's Colin.
Colin?
It's Colin. Yes.
Colin. Joanne and Colin. There you go.
Joanne and Colin. There you go. Job done. So
sound like an old married couple,
they do.
Yeah. Right, with their son Tyrone.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Go on.
Yeah, let's get away from old English names. Well, I don't even think Tyrone is an old English name. But anyway, moving on to the other football in our lives. This is where people that aren't interested in soccer, as you guys call it, you can switch off. You're done. Because that's it for Chiefs Talk now. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll speak to you again soon. But the other football, I know you're a big fan yourself, Craig. That's how we've interacted in the past online, is mainly talking about soccer, football, as opposed to the NFL. When did you first get into football? What? Because you're a rarity, really, aren't you? I know the game's getting more popular over there, but it sounds like you've been into the game a long, long time. So when you started following it, it must have been like a bit of a niche, I suppose, like how the NFL was to us when we started following it.
Oh, absolutely. Some of my very first sport in Kansas City is local Kansas City professional soccer team. Some of my very first games were in Arrowhead Stadium with about 3,500 other people. I could yell something on the field and make sure somebody at the opposite corner flag heard it. It was very. It was kind of a sound vacuum, honestly. The supporters groups were about 100 to 150 people, as opposed to now they have their own soccer-specific stadium. It's gotten much more popular. They're putting about 21,000 people in it every week, and the supporter section is 6,000 or 7,000 people strong, and it's very loud and it's enjoyable to go to. But yeah, I played my whole life, since I was 5 until my knees fell apart about 5 years ago. Actually played through university, as you guys call it, college, as other people call it, and a little bit, and on the side in a rec league after I graduated. But yeah, when my knees fell apart, that was it for me. So I just became a beer drinking, loud supporter in the stands after that.
Nice. What position?
Which is basically what Tom has done his entire life. So
Hey. I done like the typical thing. Like when I was a kid, I started off in goal. And then as I got older, I got bored of playing in goal. So I moved forward and eventually went from defence to striker. And then I played striker for a little bit. But then as I got less fit and fatter and older, I did the whole thing where I moved back again.
You reverted.
Next thing you know, I'm a sweeper.
Yeah.
So I do as little running as possible. What position do you play?
I started as a striker. I am 6'6" tall. I'm quite tall.
Wow.
But I ended up moving to winger because I was one of the few people on my squad with a left foot. And then, much like you, as we got into older and older leagues, I became the slow one. So I moved back to center back at the end of my career there because I was tall and I was willing. So, yes.
That's literally all it
center
takes
back.
to play.
Yes. Be tall
football.
and be willing. Yeah.
Yeah, will you moan about it afterwards?
Yes.
Because if not, you're sold. You're there. That's where you're playing.
So, outside of sporting, Casey, they're obviously your first love when it comes to football. Do you have any European teams?
I do follow Arsenal. Not as much as I would like being here in the States. I don't have as much access to it as I would like, but I am an Arsenal fan. The Invincibles is what drew me in. I literally fell in love with Sol Campbell. So he's kind of my guy. So yeah, that's what pulled me in.
Yeah, the traitor Sol Campbell who left Spurs to go to Arsenal. Yeah,
and the 5 Spurs fans that we did have listening to this podcast have
switched off
unsubscribed
immediately
forever.
now.
But
yeah,
I don't even care. Fuck them.
Why am I shocked? Can we just end the podcast here now? Because it's bad enough Tom talking about Arsenal. I don't need somebody else joining in on that.
Well, Craig, I think I already knew that anyway. I think we've mentioned that before. And the offer is there. If you're ever in London, I have 2 season tickets. I can kick the other person out of their ticket, and I will happily
I will definitely take you up on that. I will drink way too much with you and go there. That is on my bucket list. So I will take you up on that should I make it over there.
We're making.
You should feel honoured because he's never offered me that. And I've known him for years. So...
yeah, you're never getting that offer. I'm not gonna lie. So one last question. It's deadline day over here in the UK. The transfer window shut about 3 hours ago. Players can no longer be bought or sold in football now until January. So it's essentially the same as the trade deadline in the NFL. Got me thinking, if Patrick Mahomes was a soccer player, football player, how much money do you reckon he would be worth?
Okay. I put a little bit of time into this. You gave me a little bit of heads up about it beforehand. Let's see. Reportedly.
Well, Neymar was the most expensive player.
Correct. And reportedly, right now, Real Madrid has a £110 offer plus Luka Modric on the table for Neymar. I'm going to say £200 million plus Luka Modric. That is what it would take to get Patrick Mahomes in the current transfer window right now. A very quality player plus a ridiculous transfer fee.
That sounds about right. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
I feel like he'd probably be the first 200. If you're just going purely off money, I think he'd probably be the first £250 million player, right?
Yeah. Just like he's going to be the first $200 million contract player in the NFL.
Quarterback,
yes.
Yeah.
So let's reverse the roles. Messi, prime Messi, not Messi now because Messi's old. So let's say prime Messi, 2009, 2010, 2011. Pep Guardiola's Messi, when he's basically the best player the world has ever seen. He probably still is, but at that point, no one has ever played to that level that he did then. How many draft picks? What if Barcelona had to trade him away? How many first rounders?
He is worth as many first rounders as years as he's playing in the league at that level. Like, if he decided to play for another 11 years for your club, you get that club's 11 first-round picks. That's how good Messi was. It's kind of a similar thing. Like, people have talked about what would it take to pry Mahomes away. First of all, you can't. And second of all, it would have to be a haul like that. Something ridiculous. A team is unable to build around Patrick Mahomes because they had to give up so much to get him. That's what it would be like for Messi in the NFL.
Yeah, at this point, basically, you're talking in the realms of fantasy because it's just the kind of thing that just
we are drafting a soccer player. I'm not gonna lie, so
yeah, but I mean, in terms of even if you're talking in the NFL, you try and trade for a quarterback of the Mahomes ilk or someone like that, those trades don't happen because they're just so valuable to teams and just irreplaceable, and especially more so I'd say in the NFL where contracts are structured a little bit more to favour teams. A player having a 4 or 5 year contract in football means nothing compared to the NFL. A guy will be transferred with years left on the deal unlike the NFL.
Yes.
Well, I think we're going to leave it there because I've just checked the time and we've been running for 38 minutes and Craig only had 20.
I was just enjoying myself so much.
Pete's probably banging on your phone. Where's this article? I need it now.
His boss is like, your lunch finished 15 minutes ago. Where are you?
Sorry, I was talking shop. We have to get you on again, Craig, because I really enjoyed that. Maybe in a few weeks' time we can get you on again, talk about the start of the Premier League season, talk about the corners and the Chiefs in general, see how we're feeling about the whole situation after.
That sounds wonderful. I'd be glad to.
And maybe next time we get Brad to host, so I don't have to do it.
Take the onus off of you.
Well, no, we'll have Ryan Tracy by that point. So
Ryan Tracy and I can just talk beer the entire time.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
We'll go check out Craig's stuff. The Summer of Spags series on Arrowhead Pride is brilliant. I'm not just saying that because I'm now employed by them, but no, it genuinely is brilliant.
But he is saying it because he's employed by them.
Same with the Arrowhead Pride, the AP Laboratory. Go check that out with Craig, Matt, and Ken. Really good stuff. Quite different to our podcast because those guys know what they're talking about. But you know what you get with us. So it's all good. But so that's it for tonight, and we'll be back on Monday when we kind of review the preseason game that we don't really care about. So from one kingdom to another, we'll speak to you again soon.